ethics course for the research scientists. And it was fun because I got to talk about patents, should we have them or not, and bring things like that up. You know, you get to talk about things like, should there be drug regulation that keeps choice away from some people? I mean, these are the issues that we bring to the table, and this isn't happening anywhere else, folks. There's nobody else in the ethical field bringing this forward. Please, at least some of you, consider it seriously. And of course, I want to talk about another aspect of what we need to succeed, and that's media. And I think here we actually have it. I don't think I really need to belabor this to this crowd. As you all know, the internet, print on demand, and a number of very prominent people, even on television, really have made it possible for us to reach the public in a way we never could back in the 80s. In the 80s, the media effectively shut us out. And if they said anything about us, they could say things that weren't true, and we really had no way to come back. That's all changed. So we now have the new printing press, so to speak, and I think that's going to be a very valuable addition to the cause. I want to talk about the next generation, too. You know, one of the sad things that I've seen as I've been in the movement is that I'd come year after year to Libertarian Party conventions, whether it's state or national or local, and I'd look out in the audience and, you know, they were all pretty much the baby boomers with one or two new faces, younger faces. It was quite sad. That is no longer true. I think the Ron Paul Revolution activated the youth. They've got Students for Liberty and Young Americans for Liberty, which are growing faster than any other liberty organizations, including the Libertarian Party. And these are the best and the brightest. As far as I can tell, these young people are intelligent, hardworking, and I'm going to say team players here, but what I mean is they also come from a mindset that's very different from my generation. I think my generation was kind of, for lack of a better word, a little bit arrogant, and maybe they needed to be because of what they were up against at the time. But the new generation, next generation coming along, I've been very impressed by. I have had people come up to me at their meetings and say things like, oh, we're so grateful for you and the others that have built us such an infrastructure. We just need to walk in and be part of it, you know. You know, we really appreciate you building it. I'm shocked. You know, libertarians don't talk like that to each other normally. But it's wonderful, and I think that attitude is going to result, it's what's needed now. It's going to result in them pulling together and taking on a multitude of these types of things and really making it happen. And it needs to, because their generation is just going to be destroyed by the excesses that have happened in government in recent years. So they really do need to be there. Now, I've talked about most of this list. As you can see, there's only one part I've missed, and that's at the very bottom, embracing our other half. What do I mean by that? Well, that's, of course, something, yes, we should do, but that wasn't what I meant. Okay, so libertarians are all about individual responsibility in the political sector. So, for example, if I'm a libertarian, you would not hear me say something like, I'm poor because that guy's rich. That's not the way we react. We say, I'm poor because of the fact that I haven't tried, or I'm not working hard, or I don't have the skills yet that I need to get. We might also say, and because the government's in my way, but we wouldn't blame the rich for us being poor. We take responsibility for our condition. There is a parallel movement to ours that is largely underground. And that is the group of people that take individual responsibility for what happens in their inner world. Now, for example, most people would say, I'm angry because of what you said. But a person in this movement would say, I'm angry because of the way I think about what you said. See the difference? They take responsibility for their anger. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. Oh, I'm so glad. You know, I don't have enough time to go into the details of this movement other than to say this is a parallel movement where people take responsibility for their inner self. And since a lot of you are acquainted with it, I just like to say it's our other half. And it's I've had my foot in both camps for a long time. And I know many of you have come up to me and said, oh, you know, it's so great to meet you. And some people with tears in their eyes because there's just something, they feel there's some connection there with me. And it's not really about me. It's about what comes through in healing our world. It's about that part of the responsibility. It's about, well, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say a loving attitude, okay? There's a part of that movement that has something that we're missing. And so for those of you who know what I'm talking about, I suggest, if you wish, to become more acquainted with it and get those people in our movement, because right now we are divided. You know, to only think in self-responsibility about the outer world and not think about our inner world, it's not balanced, and vice versa. Many of them think about the inner world, but they don't recognize that aggression, they don't recognize aggression when they see that, and that's what we bring to them. Once you tell those people what taxation really is, they're libertarian. I went to a conference many years ago when I first put out Healing Our World. I was there for 2 weeks, a conference with such people, and I did not speak, but myself and others put the books out on the table, and by the end of the conference, 50%, half of the people walked home with a copy of Healing Our World. And I said not a word, because they recognized the parallel when they picked up the book. They are our other half, and I'm so glad to see that so many of you know who I'm talking about, so that you can investigate a little more and invite them into the fold, because we have something they need, the individual responsibility in the outer world, and they have something we need, the inner responsibility in our inner world. And I think that part of the difficulty my generation has had in getting things off the ground has been they haven't had that perspective. So I hope that you might at least consider these comments, and if some of them resonate with you, go for it, because we need every perspective that we can, every project for liberty, every angle. They are all important. So thank you for all you do for liberty. Thank you.
We can take some questions for Dr. Ruwart. Got a question, just raise your hand.